Hey, my name is 𝗀𝗂𝗍𝗂𝗯 and I'm with Joy Graysen. And this is the first time we're talking. We met November 4th. I saw a post where Joy said, post the song that best describes this moment in the election. And when I saw it, I posted my song OK, which happens to also be tuned at 432 hertz. And we just started to engage in conversation. And one of her responses to our thread was, my next musical recording will be tuned at A432 hertz. Every song, this is my vow. The Nazis created A440 during World War II. And I was like, if you know me and you know what I say and shared, it just resonated. So I was like, okay, let's talk. And so here we are. Now, before I started pressing the record button, one of the things that we both stated was how we don't know each other. And so one of the things that I want to do right now is I want to play something for you that I feel is an honest introduction through a story, through music, and through my heart. So this is like, hello, Joy. Is this okay?
Please.
All right, here we go. All right, so look, something that I find interesting about growing up, the term growing up, is that you hear these things, some people say it's a trap, little children look forward to it, and in the middle, when you start to figure it out, there's this clarity that comes. There's this sentiment about not growing up, and it's not about not taking on responsibilities, not standing up for what you believe in. Not growing up means don't lose the beauty and innocence of a child at play. For example, I saw this little boy. His mama bought him so many toys. He looked at them, then she gave him a plastic bottle to drink some water. He took the label off the bottle and played with that label for like 4 hours. Never looked at the toys. Because a child, when they play, is so serious. It's so serious. And that's what we admire. That's the space we try and create for children, that freedom to just be. And we lose that for ourselves at times. So when I say I'm not growing up, that means I'm not losing that playfulness, if y'all haven't noticed already. So this is called the 𝗀𝗂𝗍𝗂𝗏 song. And yeah, this is gonna be some random awesomeness. Roller skates, bones and spades, games we played till the last call. My mom made pies and cakes, and we ate till they were all gone. Fresh cakes baked every weekend. Ma, may I have another piece again? My life, where did this piece end? My life is another piece again. Hopscotching, breakdancing, beatboxing, double dutching, electric sliding. Hold your hand tight, cause my friends have arrived. Flip that frown to a smile, cause it's time to get down on the dance floor. Let your hands go, glass in the air, float without a care. This is the 𝗀𝗂𝗍𝗂𝗏 song. Please pass this bear hug along. I don't wanna grow up, and I don't think that I will. This is the 𝗀𝗂𝗍𝗂𝗏 song. Please pass this bear hug along. I don't wanna grow up, and I don't think that I will. I'm not growing up, I'm not growing up, hey. I don't think that I will. I'm not growing up, I'm not growing up, hey. I don't think that I will. I'm not growing up, I'm not growing up. I don't think that I will. I'm not growing up, I'm not growing up. Yo, look. Hi. First kisses.
I'm receiving.
So how are you?
I'm opened.
That is beautiful. So that was at 432 hertz.
I
And
felt that. I could feel that. I could hear the tuning. It's just under what my ear is used to hearing.
yeah,
Wow.
it's less tension by default. You tune down, you release the tension to get to 432. 440
Right.
is more tense.
Wow. A little tighter. Wow. I don't even know where to start. I have so many things to say and nothing at all. I just feeling you seep in is a lovely feeling. So everything that you're talking about with returning to the childlike wonder of discovery and immersion in the moment is what I have unlocked.
That's beautiful.
Like I figured out how to get there. I figured out what stops it, what shuts it down, and what opens it up. And I am a coach, a vocal coach for over 25 years. But my discoveries and my philosophies that I've created for my life and for my music and for my studio and all my artists has begun to reveal itself to me in quantum physics language that I was never trained in, but that I now see and have researched how it all comes back around to the truth at the center of the golden spiral, right? The center of everything that's created into the physical universe is operating from a quantum field. And when we are children, we haven't found it necessary to behave as a particle in the physical universe. So we play as waves in the quantum field until that becomes too dangerous for us to. So anyway, I have so much I could talk to you about that, but I really
You caught everything that's in there on a different layer. It's like what I share through my songs and my lyrics and stories, even the purposefulness of the frequency, you just gave it a description and explanation on a layer that's there that I've never had relayed back to me. And I'm just grateful to hear it presented from a musician, an artist, someone who is living. And even the fact that you said you unlocked that magic that we come into this realm with, that has to be taught and scared and boxed away. Yes, once you get that and realize that you still have the key, there is nothing like it.
right. And it's just how to unlock it and how to step on in from the other side, right? And so we all know that there's that 𝗀𝗔𝗍𝘂𝗧 realm of existence that makes us want to bare our soul, that makes us want to fall in love, that makes us want to have a puppy, that makes us yearn to connect energetically, right, and emotionally. But it's a question of how do you get there and how do you stay there, and that's what I feel like I've discovered, and that's what I mentor, and that's what I teach. And
What can you walk me through, or what are you comfortable sharing with that process? Because while I exist in that realm indefinitely, the steps to get there for me, how I may share it, are totally different. So yeah, what would you say, or what have you found to work for you? Like feed me awareness.
okay, well, I'll feed you mine. You know, that doesn't mean it's going to be yours, right?
True. Yeah.
But have you ever heard of the movie What the Bleep Do You Know?
Oh yes.
Okay, so there's an excerpt from that movie that talks about this experiment called the double slit experiment. Are you familiar with that?
But explain it. Just explain it, just for reference.
Yeah. So it was an experiment that was initially started in the mid 1800s, and it was an experiment of physics experiment that confounded everyone. Like they just couldn't explain it, and I think it disgusted them. I'm filling that in like from my own sense of humor, but like they didn't pick it up like fully again in its entirety until in the 1920s. They actually, this experiment gave birth to the field of quantum physics, because the physicists could only go so far in explaining the phenomenon that they were seeing in this experiment. And so this other field, this metaphysical world, had to be then examined more closely, and that's where quantum physics began. And what the experiment basically did was it observed on a subatomic level how electrons behave, right? And so they shot electrons through this slit in a piece of metal to hit against a chalkboard or whatever, a board that they could be visually seen and perceived. So they went through this slit in a straight line, and they just landed exactly where they were. No, actually, they did this first with particles, like marbles. They did it with larger particles, right? And they would shoot it through the slit, and they would all just line up in a line according to the slit. And then they made a second slit, and they fired these particles at this two-slitted, whatever it was. And again, two lines came up on the other side. When they went to do this on electrons, and I think it's also been done with photons, what they observed was that when they had the one slit, the electrons behaved exactly like the particles. But when they had two slits, the electron decided to behave differently. And that is where it entered the quantum tunneling phenomena, where it could go through both, or it could go through neither. And it could replicate itself as many times as it needed to, and carry out the task of every single option that it could perceive. And the one that was the most efficient was the one that would show up in the physical universe. And this kind of broke down the concept of time, because when did that happen? They all happened, and then only one that was the most efficient showed up in the physical universe. So the scientists were just, there you go. Yeah. This one's in Spanish. There's one that's 5 minutes and 13 seconds.
Yeah, I'm just showing the video. You can keep going.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So, oh yeah, you're in Costa Rica. So what the scientists couldn't understand was, how is this happening? Why are they, like, what they did was then they slowed it down, and they did it one electron at a time, and it still had this, it showed up as an interference pattern on the back wall, which means it was waves that were colliding with waves. And so here it's going to show the interference pattern right now. Okay, no, so that's the particles, right? So you're getting the two lines. And he's showing how waves here, they interfere, right? So when there's one, the waves just go straight to the other side. And then when there's, you're going to see in a second, he's going to go quantum.
Yeah.
And show you that. Oh no, he's going to show you with waves right now how.
But you keep going, because you had a great description going. I just wanted to show that I saw the video.
You know what? Let it play like for another 10 seconds, because it's going to show the interference pattern that's relevant to making this make a little bit more sense.
Second slit, something different happens. If
This is
the top of
waves.
one wave meets the bottom of another wave, they cancel each other out. So now there is an interference pattern on the back wall. Places where the two tops meet are the highest intensity, the bright lines, and where they cancel, there is nothing. So when we throw things, that is matter, through two slits, we get this, two bands of hits. And with waves, we get an interference pattern of many bands.
Okay. So now we're back to frequency. So how does this work, or why did this resonate with you?
Okay, so what happened was, when the electrons went through the two slits, they behaved as waves. And instead of forming two lines, they formed the interference pattern, which showed the scientists that they were actually operating as waveforms now, not as particles. So they switched. And they really wanted to understand what caused this switch. And so they put a measuring device next to the slits when there were two slits. And the electron perceived that there was a measuring device and shut its quantum wave function down and went back to being marbles, like went back, and it was just two lines that showed up. So the idea of being observed by others triggers a primal shutdown of the quantum space, right? It triggers nobody here but us marbles. So the concept of being in privacy versus the concept of being observed is the crux of everything that I've discovered here. So when you're an artist and you're in your shower or you're rehearsing and you're just like a rock star and you know you're killing it, right? And then you get on stage and all of a sudden you go back to being the marble. You go back to being a physical representation of your spiritual nature because you're no longer functioning as a wave. You're functioning as a particle in the sense of freedom, in the sense of opening the portal at the center of the heart space where the infinite potential universe can then realize itself in the physical world, right? So I connected all of this to love and fear and the symbol of the sun. Like, this is my philosophy, that when the sun shines in every direction, everything comes to life and all the planets in the solar system stay in orbit. The sun never goes, oh, sorry, Jupiter, no, you don't get any sun today. Like, the sun's existence doesn't depend on what's outside of it. The sun's existence depends on opening from the center into this infinite potential space of endless give, endless shine outwards from center, right? So I was like, on stage, when you feel like that, or when you're falling in love, you feel like the sun, you're just radiating outwards and everything comes to you and revolves in your orbit and everything grows as that flow. I defined that as like, that's my new definition of love. Endless willingness to give without any hesitation or need to pull in and close down. So I realized there's this continuum between love and fear, right? Love is the sun and fear is the black hole, which just collapses in on itself. It needs approval. It needs people to not harm it. There's threat outside of self. And so therefore, we better shut that down and protect it. No one here but us marbles, right? But my whole philosophy and my practice and my what I give and what I do in my life, aside from my own music, is I teach people how to understand the quantum perspective so that they are not actually living in the illusion of threat without. That the endlessness of this opening is not only not vulnerable, it's the most powerful thing you can possibly ever have going on, is this open-hearted, open portal to the infinite potential. So when you understand and start to practice recognizing and realizing that there is like literally nothing to be threatened by, like it's literally like playing a video game and you believe that your avatars are real and have anything to do with who you are, when really they're only just there to help you level up. So that is the fastest I've ever explained my philosophy. But I feel like hopefully that you were tracking with everything I was rambling on about. Yeah, you got it.
Every word I can resonate with. Again, so I just sit silently, enjoy hearing it resonate through someone else, especially stated from both the vibration, frequency, and the quantum physics of love. Love, it's just amazing to hear you share that. So thank you for summating it so well.
I was rolling fast with that because I finally can. I know that you get it, right? And it's hard because I have to dumb it down so much for people that haven't quite seen what you've seen and seen what I've seen. And I don't mean dumb it down in a condescending way. I just mean
I understand when you say that.
Yeah. And like, it's so obvious, like, it's almost like having X-ray vision. Now I look at things and I just see it. It's just like, you're either flowing or you're not. You're either flowing out or you're pulling in. And the illusion of danger, the illusion that anything has any power to determine what you are or who you are, is so ridiculous from this perspective. So it's easy for me to help people step through that threshold. And every time they test it and every time they get a wider span of their shine going, a wider field, and they cross their comfort zones and they push past their fear, they realize there was nothing there in the first place. They just believed that story, right? So the cages upon cages upon cages of nothing fall away, and we become superheroes. And everything that we were as a child is just, you know, that's it. That's it. It's always been there. It's just been locked up.
I so agree. I so agree. I am in, I'm telling you, I'm lit. Thank you so much for just, it's good to hear it from someone else from another very clear perspective. So many people that try to explain it from this flotation device that isn't graspable by those who aren't even close to leaving the ground of a certain given reality. So you just kind of made the bridge from the metaphysical to the physical, from a very solemn, strong, feminine realm of awareness that resonates. So yeah, I'm glad this wasn't expected. And that's the beauty of alignment. I had no idea that you knew this, and I was going through your reference on the Nazis and the history that you knew, and you took me where I always want to go. So
I just gotta tell you, can I add something to that?
Please.
I want you to know, and I want whoever hears this to know this. I didn't learn anything I know in books, or from listening to other people, or from knowing anything about astrology or quantum physics or any energy healing or any, like, I literally opened to allow it to show itself to me. Like, and that's more than anything what I want people to learn from me. You are your own infinite potential universe. You are the infinite potential. You are your own oracle. Everything that I know, I can then verify with facts afterwards. And I'm like, how did I know? Like, what? Like, but it's all right there. And it becomes more and more like the sharper the focus comes in, the more exhilarating it becomes. And so in music, which is the closest art form to the real spiritual, like, existence, is like learning how to let that harmony of who you are in your soul ride through your air and through your mouth and out to embody the true wholeness of your spirit. And like, I don't know if you saw this, but one of the references that I sent you was from this video called Fractals, DNA and the Golden Ratio with Dan Winter. And in that, he has a radiograph or some machine that shows the musical cascade of the heartbeat. And when you are in an emotional state of bliss, the space in between the heartbeats is in the exact ratio of the Fibonacci sequence of the golden mean, down to the decimal point. And like, you have to watch that video too. Like, and it just, it verifies what I saw. And so I want everyone that hears this to know that the magnificence of what you can imagine is beyond anything that anyone could ever describe. And we don't have to keep seeking from outside ourselves to understand this. We just have to sing. We have to free our voice, right? And that's what I do. Like, that's what I do in life. That's my opus. That's what my body of work is, to enable people to sing their soul out.
So my very first song, the chorus on it is, I just want you to see you are already free. You're searching for something outside you. It's in you. You already got it. It's that simple. And so I often tell people that I remember everything. I remember the future. I remember the past. And you're missing it because you can't let go of the shared construct of time. You have to go within and truly disconnect to fully fall up into this awareness that we all have access to. There's a library that we all have access to that has no doors, no walls, and the path there is yours and yours alone, and you just have to unlock yourself. It is amazing, like you said, exhilarating once you just even get a glimpse of it. And we've always had access to it. Children don't have experiences that jade the path when they first come, and they really don't know how to translate it. So even the words being learned don't properly express the realities being shared, which is why sometimes some of the most prolific quotes that they say or statements that they say are in between some just gargled reality that we can't decipher because of that separation from that realm that is actually theirs and ours. So yes, Peter Pan kind of explains it when he remembers, and the power of the imagination can take you to a realm. But what we're talking about is not an imagination. There is an actual conscious library that is connected to everything beyond wires, like nothing disconnects us from the sun. All this space is actually something. We are all connected, and there is a library that explains this and so much more. So yes, the awareness and just the subject of quantum physics, and the statement you made that music is the closest expression through art that gets you to that realm of the quantum physics harmony in a way. I dig that. And it's funny you speak of the sun, because I listened to this your first live stream as you were not too happy with the lockdown, and you sang a song where you said the sun, it's one of your songs, the sun does not discriminate. And yeah, that just resonated. So as you were talking about the sun the whole time you're doing this, spreading out, I'm just thinking of you in this song. So yeah, just to throw that in there. So
Beautiful. And you know how I imagine this cosmic library. I don't know if it's the same as you imagine it, but what I imagine is the books aren't written. The books
no,
are just about to be written. And that's how it works in the quantum space, where all the potential to see the whole picture becomes clearer and clearer and more focused the wider you open. So that book just writes itself just by posing a question. Like, all of this that I'm channeling now started from me writing in the woods after being broken, you know, badly in a lot of different ways. And one of them was through discovering what happens to animals on this planet. You know, that was one of the 4 earthquakes that drove me into the woods, where I just started writing to myself, talking to myself, getting to know myself, opening that sacred friendship up so that we could go on this journey into inner space and ask questions to each other, me and me, like, what could this possibly be? And then I'd explain it to myself. And then I would answer what I just said. And then it would just be like, how do I know this? Where am I reading this? What am I? But it was 100% true and verifiable. Mm-hmm. And it was just like every bit of truth is available to all of us when we make time and space for ourselves to become best friends with ourselves, to learn how to trust ourselves, be accountable to ourselves, show up on time for ourselves, feed ourselves with love.
That's one of the gifts that one of the hidden gifts of potential energy. And I'll get there in a second. One thing that you said is how I see the library. Your description is I'm there. And I would add this, is that for me, when it comes to quantum energy, to oversimplify it, there's kinetic energy and there's potential energy. And you can also say there's realized energy, but kinetic and potential. And the quantum library is access to all potential. It's instantaneous access to all potential, which means that your ability to create, consume, to be aware is taken instantly out of the potential ether. It's just there. It just is. And so,
beautiful.
Yeah. And so I had a point to share with you about something that escapes me. I do have a question though, if there is an answer that resonates with you.
Yeah.
On your path to this point, what was the most prolific question posed or that you ran into that the non-answer was the greatest gift of it? It's like the fact that I can't answer this question is it. This is it. This is a key. Ooh.
I don't know that the question was that consciously formed, but if I have to look backwards,
Or if
while
there
looking
is a question that presented itself where you were like, that is actually the answer, almost like a 𝗀𝗂𝗿𝗲 reference.
right, what is love?
Everything.
Why am I always so hungry? Why am I always so thirsty for that? That was the question. And the sun, as a template, showed me love is the infinite expansion of self outwards from center, emanating from center, and without any hesitation whatsoever, without the need to protect anything.
So
It's
would you
just
say love is what the unobserved particle was expressing or becoming? Is that what we were looking at?
love, say that again, is what the unobserved particle.
When the particle just was, what before it adjusted from observation, when the waves continued to flow unobserved, when an artist is in that unhindered, when a child is in that unaffected, is that the extreme outward state and resonance of love, the love?
That's the state of love. So like you can intentionally just decide, like, blow the walls off of this and make myself as big as the whole planet, or as big as the solar system, or as big as I want to be, as big as a star, as big as the sun. Or you can just lose yourself in the joy of creation, right? Of just allowing your imagination to create yourself outwards.
Now,
that is pure love. But you can turn up the volume with intention, right?
Sure. So right now this is November 4th, 2020, and we have just begun the aftermath of the most watched election in the history of modern humanity, society. And so with this awareness that you have, and how you feel about what's taking place, how do those two work? Do you write songs and share sonic vibrations? Do you have conversations? Do you stand and vote? Like, how do you take this resonance of this love and share it? What are you doing now on November 4th with this awesome transition taking place?
I'm here.
I like it.
Okay, so but bigger answer to that question is, and it challenges me because no matter how much you see and how much you know, if you're not implementing it, you can easily fall prey to your own emotions and your own ego and get caught up in the static of those energy fields of wanting for self, of having ego in the way. And so it really did challenge me to try to be neutral about the flow of what's going to happen next with this election, because I have my very personal egoic wants and needs, right? When I'm being Joy, Graysen, the human being, with viewpoints and concerns of what is right, I'm holding on to that, maybe a little too tightly. But I kind of tried to lift out of that last night when things seemed like they were going the wrong way, and just said, we're just all a speck of dust, so let's just love, right? But I think the answer is to get into nature and to be alone with yourself and allow yourself to really enjoy the company of love and the truth. Look at the pattern of a plant. Like a plant, you may know this, like grows, every branch that comes out of the center is in perfect spiral. Like the ratio is exactly down to the decimal point where those branches come off the center stalk for perfect light sharing, for perfect rain sharing. You go into nature and you surround yourself with the magnificent fractal just architecture of love everywhere around you. You soak that in, And you can't help but start to know things that take you past your ego, you know. But for me right now, I'm in a process right now where I am transitioning from what I do for a living, right? Which is my art. I share how to set people free into themselves, into their music. But there's a higher goal for me, which is to finally have my business in a state where I can lift out of that. And that's still, machine's still running. And I can finally use my voice and my music and my songs to directly communicate on a completely harmonic musical level without having to teach people how to get there. But I mean, it brought me to where I am now. I came out of the womb singing before I could talk. It was my first language, you know. But I think for everyone's sake, when you can find your inner peace, when you can have a practice that you can ritualistically habituate so that you can bring yourself to a place of center, whether it's meditation, you know, in nature is always divine and the fastest route there. Through music, I would listen to yoga music and harmonic music that wouldn't impose itself on me, but just create a space of beauty and harmony. And breathe and focus on the life that's in you and focus on the beauty that's around you and see what you really think. See what your heart is really trying to tell you when you separate out from all the things in life that make you feel like you have to show up as something. And just see what you actually show up as.
So everything I get from you is learn to love yourself, with yourself, by yourself. Take that moment.
As yourself.
As
Right.
yourself. And that's what I was going to say is that's the gift, the hidden gift in this current lockdown, is that you have actually been given a chance to go within. So as much of it that is contrived and non-welcome, these limitations, a part of it gave you a moment to separate and truly go a little further than the wall. Like, let the wall be there for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Go in and really process and disconnect from everything and see what happens. I recently did 108 hours of darkness with no food, no water, and no light. And I shared what that process would happen through the 5 ways of that process. So if you get a chance, I would welcome your first reaction to that. And yes, if anyone has ever heard me speak, hugged me and gave me 2 minutes of consideration, you know that I'm all about you. You need to do you, find you, be you, love you, hate you, embrace you, kick yourself away, but learn every outer corner that does not exist and has yet to exist thing about yourself. And from there, everything else that happens outside of yourself, you'll take in with more control and awareness that this is just how I choose to take this. Everything, even the greatest pain, the greatest joy, is just like, that's how you choose to take it. That's why some people laugh at pain, because for them it's like, oh, it's supposed to hurt, huh? And other people cry for when they're tickled. It's like, so those are real things. So yeah, it's just learn yourself, love yourself so much that you will go to the infinite amounts to know. So even when you interact with a child, when someone says they love you, or when you use that word, you know, and it's clearly defined what you mean by that, because you are that. You don't even, the word is just extra because you exist there. So yeah, just be.
And the thing is I think a lot of people have resistance around this idea of loving yourself, not maybe even consciously, but it's like if a stranger walked up to you off the street and said, love me, right? Most people, and especially if he looked like shady, right? Or like he wanted something from you. And then if maybe you said, okay, I'll be your friend, I'll love you, be at my house at 6 o'clock, and they come at 7 o'clock, they broke an agreement. You couldn't trust them to keep an agreement. It's like, how do you trust someone and love someone if they haven't shown up in a way that's respectful of you, right? So when we learn how to create a sacred friendship, it's learning how, I almost look at it like you have to break yourself in two, and you have to look at yourself as another. And I love journaling, and now I'm into video journaling right to the camera to myself, because it breaks you apart and allows you to have the conversations that you couldn't have with anyone else, and really go deep and dive deep into that, so that you start to really understand why you should love yourself, and you start to hold yourself accountable, and you start to push yourself harder than anyone else ever could, because you want to see yourself succeed more than anyone else. And you really befriend yourself when you really start talking to yourself this way. And then it's not just a cliche, love yourself. We all know we're supposed to. It's like, no, this person has my back. This person understands everything I've ever been through. This person wants to know more. This person is showing me they're going to step up. They're going to show up on time. They're going to do their meditation. They're going to, find ways to give back. And you're like, who is this person? I really love this person. I want to be around this person more. Like, I wonder what else. Maybe I could tell this person a joke and laugh my ass off. And then you do. Like, this is what I was coming home from the woods with, and I'd throw it at my clients, and they'd be like, what just happened? Because there was like these discoveries were like finding a hidden treasure chest of the most giant, perfect gemstones. And I was like, I can't even hold this for long. Just I have to throw it back, or it'll melt like in my hands.
And it's more coming. It's funny that you say that. I have a song, and it's called The Mirror Challenge. And one of the lyrics, it says, can you look in the mirror and apologize to yourself and your journal for all the lies? Like, you have to break, even as a writer, in your most honest moment, you have to break through even that thing, that your journal, as honest as it still isn't there. And you know this because that is something, whether you're trying to be poetic or it's something where you won't write it. So yes, you have to truly break away. And part of it is conversations with yourself, whether in a mirror, in a video relay, but those conversations where you really go to yourself and really, really peel the layers that only you can peel away. What happens after that is a growth and expansion that I can look at you and know when you've experienced it. People don't have to tell me. I can say when they've done it. So it's good to see you, love.
Oh my gosh. I just love you. I'm so glad we found each other today again.
Of all days, the portal opened up. The portal of possibility opened up. And see, in chaos comes creation. And so for me, as I look at so many people talk about what has happened over the past since February, or when this became a reality of restrictions and true life-changing and altering moments, I smile when I speak to my creatives, because all of them went through this period where they were like, oh man, this sucks. There are no live shows. I can't do this, man. La, 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 la. Then what happened was they were sitting in the house and they all started to play songs that they started to write years ago. Some of them started to practice their own riffs that they gave up on. Then they started to press record. And not only were they playing, they started to sing. So the players started to sing and the singers started to play. Then they started to share videos of them sharing original artwork. Oh my gosh, things people had never seen them do because they were session musicians or always doing cover work. But now they're sharing original art. Oh my gosh. And so what I started to see in all of this was a slow unfolding of creative exploits, just finding ways to share your stuff your way, doing things that you put on hold. And when you realize that you'd rather do something than complain, it took you away from all of the other stuff. Most of my creatives know what's going on in the world, but it's not hindering what they're doing and what they need to do or feel they need to do creatively. It's just a part of their matrix agreements. But I am loving the fact that this chaos has created so many possibilities, because chaos is the foundation of creation, and art has always been the torch of every evolution. So let's roll with it.
Right. Look at what's a diamond. The most intense pressure. Diamond, right? From carbon.
And then
it's like, there's just there is a tremendous amount of poetry in what's going on right now, and a tremendous amount of justice in what's going on right now, in my opinion. We are just entitled as a species is like a ridiculous word. It doesn't even, it's like, there is no word for the magnitude of arrogance and entitlement we are as a species. And what's happening to us now is like really, really mild compared to what we could have experienced for what we perpetrate.
So is it almost like cosmic karma in a way? There's a balance that we've yet to really be conflicted with, and it's still time.
I just believe that there is a woven pattern, energetic pattern, it just spreads out from every point in every dimension. There's this grid of energy, and that creates designs and sacred geometric designs that have to come back around and finish their form. And so like you are going to get the energy that you're putting into the universe winding up, completing itself at some point. So there's got to be some symmetry in the design. So when you do so much unbalanced behavior, right? When you have so much unbalanced behavior against harmony in the choices that we make as a species, to what we do to the planet, to what we do to each other, to what we do to animals, to on and on and on. It's like we're creating such a dissonance energetically with our cognitive dissonance and our blindness that the universe is going to rebalance that. And from what I observe energetically, I see that the universe is always going to rebalance, is always going to eventually bring the design to a completion. So cosmic karma might be one way to say that.
So one question for you. What area do you feel is, since humanity is the most out of balance or resistance to flow with?
You don't ask me the easy question. I love that. All right, say it again.
What area is humanity most out of balance or against the flow with? What is the one area that we're most resistant to the flow?
Well, I think it comes back down to this paradigm between love and fear. This is how I see it. When we are in a state of love, right, the circumference of the center of our heart, where that portal is, opens wider and wider. We get a bigger and bigger view of the picture, or the lens becomes wider and wider, and we see everything eventually. We are everything eventually. But when we're in a state of fear, and we shut down and we pull in our rays and we collapse into ourselves and we become a black hole, we're sucking everything into us, right? So stir some people up with fear, make them fear each other, make them fear for their lives, feed them food that they know is going to make them sick so they can sell them drugs and surgeries, keep people in a constant state of fear and disease so that people can only see what's right in front of them because they're so afraid that they've closed down the window of sight, ability to see what's really there. And so they can be controlled like pawns on a chessboard, right? So the wielding of fear as a way to keep people blind to the truth of themselves, of what's right for the planet, of what's right for themselves and each other is the biggest enemy of this state of love and harmony that we all long for. Is what Trump is doing is he's using fear. It's the oldest political trick in the book, but he just does it so outrageously that we're so numb to it that half the people in America voted for him yesterday. Like our scope is so small.
What is the fear tactic that he's using? I'm not familiar.
Okay, be afraid of each other. Be afraid of the immigrants. Be afraid of people of color. He makes everyone distrust each other. The immigrants, the caravan that's coming up from Mexico that's going to rape he was talking about how all those people coming up from Mexico are going to rape your children and take over your suburbs, and how the protests that went on when George Floyd was killed by a police officer, the riots that ensued, he took that and had people focus on the rioting and not the millions of people that were peacefully protesting, and turned that into, look at what happens when the brown people get mad.
Now,
right? And he wants to erase.
What you're sharing with me is a reality that I don't have for two reasons. One, I don't live in the United States, so my digestion of media is slightly different. And two, at this state of awareness, that's a contract in the matrix that I have no connection with. The emotional attachment to red or blue, Trump or Biden, all of that is a disconnection from self. It's an external stimulant that further takes you away, because as you say, even you discussing it gives it life and energy in your realm that really doesn't affect you. The Donald Trump thing, the one thing that I noticed, and it's not even but about Trump, that what I noticed from the outside looking in is that the United States elections and the whole process of political coverage between these two parties has put the United States media on the same level as China and North Korea with the censorship. It is insane what you guys are seeing and being shown versus what we get from what I'm hearing from people telling me what they're seeing. I'm like, I'll show them clips. I'm like, they're like, I've never seen that before. And I'm like, I have never seen what you're saying in its entirety. I'm like, when I see the news, that's why I'm like, it's like the Truman Show on this side looking out. It is, if you and I sat and looked at video after video and you said, this is what I heard or saw, and you show me what you're looking at and reading, then I show you maybe the coverage on the exact same things outside of that bubble. It will be like, whoa. The videos are different. The images, the cuts, the level of censoring in the United States right now is unparalleled. And you can say many things about Trump, but the one thing that everyone agrees with, no matter how you feel about him, is that the media portrayal of him has been a slashing across the board.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why.
When I say slashing, is like it's not an honest assessment of even he gets more media attention than Biden. Like I'm not saying they give him a better or worse light. What I'm saying is it's nowhere near even on any way that they show his portrayal to on the media side. It's the way it's fed. It's really biased. But go for it. I'm listening.
Meaning that they give him a lot more time, or they give
just
him
everything, just nothing's in balance. There's an imbalance of the perception of what the two are and how they're looked at, how they're scrutinized is different from our side looking in, from what I'm seeing.
Different in what way?
Like people show me clips of what they see of Trump on the news, and then they show me clips of what they see of Biden, and I'm like, I never saw the Biden clip. It's not even available. And the Trump clip, that's not the snippet we see. We see like the whole 6 minutes, not the 15 or 30 seconds. And so it's like, in context, it's like, oh, that does look really stupid. It's like, we can.
No. Okay. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off.
No, go for it. So I'm just saying it's a different portrayal based on being outside I'm not in the same filters. My IP address is different. So my ads are different. Everything is just a different access completely.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
When you watch him, if I sat and watched him talk for an hour, everything out of his mouth is a lie. Okay. It's like if you had a metastatic cancer growing in your body, and everyone's like, it's not as bad as you think. I'm listening to him. Every day say the most heinous, horrifying, bullying. Like he has no sense of what's true. He has no education to know. He doesn't read. He doesn't get his daily briefings. It's such an insanity that there's no amount of coverage that could even give you a slice of how, and the things that he has put in people's minds about Biden, mean, nobody's perfect, but he's a decent guy. He spent his life trying to be a public servant, doing the best he can. He didn't always vote the right way, and he's the first one to admit it, and he's not perfect. But this guy is a pathological, like, he's a narcissist, a malignant narcissist. He is the black hole on the other side of that love-fear scale. He only exists to steal attention from people and to suck their energy. So when you ask me what's the biggest thing, it's like, stop falling prey to the insanity of fear that we can't trust each other, that we mean harm to each other, that we need guns, and it's okay to keep funding the NRA and keep putting guns in the hands of people that go and shoot up schools. Like, he's for everything that's wrong with this world, in my opinion.
So right now, there's a count going on. It's the day after the election. And for me, I always said November 4th on to December 8th is really what the election is. Everything for the past whenever has been building up to the day after the election. So for me, it just started. And I'm telling you, for me, it's entertainment. Like all of this, I'm just like, whoa, okay, look at this. Oh my God, yesterday, how many ballots popped up at 4 a.m.? Oh my God, he claimed victory. Oh no, he said, just wait. Oh my gosh, Hillary's talking. Like, it's just, so for me, it's entertainment. What I want to ask you is, what is the biggest immediate threat over the next 6 months if Trump is nominated for a second term in 6 months?
He's elected.
What do you think is the thing you despise seeing or coming to be true?
He is moving people into place on his chessboard that are going to allow for an authoritarian regime. He placed the attorney general is his henchman. He's his lawyer, basically. Like, he's like, all the people that are in place are so that he can get away with whatever he wants. He can defund all the environmental protections like he already has. He's stacked the Supreme Court in such a way that we as women will probably not have the right to have an abortion in this country if he has another 4 years. Like, there's so many aspects. Wants to take away healthcare for 40 million people, affordable healthcare for 40 million people, and pretends that he has another solution for healthcare that Obama set up, that it took us all these years to get some kind of a semblance of a healthcare plan for the majority of people that can't afford to survive life because they can't even afford their medications or whatever, or a good, like, it's just everything. He is like Putin. He is like Kim Jong-un. He is like these dictatorial figures that it's not about the people.
So question for you. The connections of Biden and the questionable connections of his Ukraine dealings and his dealings with the CCP that came up.
What's the CCP?
The Communist Party of China. The Chinese Communist Party, the party that is above pretty much everything on the planet outside the United States and United Nations. The fact
there's no proof. There's nothing. It's all fabrication from Trump trying to find some kind of, it's like Hillary with Pizzagate. Like, really? She's a pedophile that channels children through a pizza place? Like, who makes this up? Like, he has fabricated every bit of this. There's never been one single piece of substantiated evidence that any of that ever happened. Like, that's why he's so dangerous, is because he makes lies up out of whole cloth, and then he has a bunch of thugs around him that have been appointed to defend whatever he does and find the legal loopholes. This man paid $750 in taxes in the last 10 years.
I think all of that is just like, it's no one knows. And that's why I always wonder what fuels people to pick either side. I'm indifferent to either side. What the most entertaining part is, people talk about $750 in taxes, and then Trump says, yeah, but I prepaid tens of millions. And when I say that, no one scrutinizes that. That doesn't come up. And it's just like, okay, poof.
But he has no proof. He's the only president in the history.
I hear you say that. Yeah.
That never showed his tax returns. So what is he hiding if it's all rainbows and butterflies? Like, but when you say
and then on the other side, you have Biden and Hunter and the hard drive This shows Hunter Biden in bed with 𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫 you have pictures of Lady Gaga shooting up cocaine smoking up rocks with Hunter Biden. Like, all of this just came out. You have financial documents that tie Biden to connections with Ukraine and the
Nothing
CCP.
is substantiated, though. Nothing. There's no evidence or proof whatsoever of
But the
any
thing
of
is, anyone doing any research? That's the question. Is different. Okay, that's what I didn't know. Okay, all right.
No, totally. Like, that's why it makes me like, this is where I connect back to my ego self. And I'm like, well, this is just outright heinous. It's like, it's all fabricated. There's nothing substantiated about it. And don't you think that he is the most powerful man in the world? That if there was anything that could be dug up that was real, that it would have been like right there in our faces, and there hasn't been one thing. He lies about everything. And then he lies about lying, and we all see it on camera. Like, anyway, I didn't want to even spoil this with him. Like,
no, it's not spoiled. It just gives a different perspective on what a reality is. And so my question is then, is the laptop fake?
Nobody's ever even seen or heard a single thing about a laptop. If it were real, don't you think it would have been leaked? Don't you think we would have seen it here? Don't you think we would have any, like, there's no video that anyone's ever seen or talked about?
The only thing that I think of when you say that is the fact that, the biggest tech companies that control over 85% of your media just got scrutinized on your Congress twice for censorship. So if you question, do I doubt that you're seeing things? Yes, I doubt that you're seeing a lot of stuff, if you're really questioning that, because your tech companies are censoring a lot of stuff. And if they're censoring, you don't even know that you're being censored. Do you realize, and this is what you don't know about me, I'm censored. I'm actually shadow banned from sharing stuff with certain people. They cannot click on the links. I cannot send them. And there are videos that are all over. I can show you a video of when I try and post something shared that's showing something that should not be. It's not malicious. It's not anything. They're blocking it because conversations like this, I present certain things and they aren't coming through. I've really kept this conversation mild for the sake partially of that. But I do want to show you a video for consideration that I don't think you've seen.
Okay. I have another call in 22 minutes.
We'll be done in 5. I just want to watch this with you just because I want to see what you think. So let me pull up us, and I appreciate you for this. Here we go. This is so new for me. All right, here we go. It should work. Can you see the video?
I can see it.
Here we go.
The CCP has ratted out Joe Biden. On September 24th, 𝗀𝗲 revealed there were hard drives containing 3 types of information delivered to the United States Department of Justice. And the people behind the delivery did so because Xi Jinping had planned to throw them under the bus, sacrificing their wealth in order to appease the United States. And so they jumped the sinking ship. 3 powerful CCP families, Jiang, Zeng, and Meng, delivered those hard drives. The first contained photos and sex tapes of influential American figures like Secretary Mnuchin. The second contained the genetic and wealth maps of Xi Jinping and Wang Qishan with their mistresses and children born out of wedlock who are now living overseas. The third contained information on CCP's unrestricted warfare, the bioweapon program directly related to the global pandemic. The move made by these families suggests that the struggle within the CCP is one of life and death. Those conspirators against Xi know too well that he has already allied himself with Joe Biden and bets on him being the next US president. If Biden wins, these families' wealth and their children hidden in the West will be at risk or sacrificed. Their lesser evil is for the big guy not to be the US president. On the other hand, Xi has pleaded for CCP veterans' assistance to help Biden win this election. 𝗀𝗲 believes that Xi has already made his move, with the US stock market falling for 3 days in a row. That is the work of Secretary Mnuchin and Wall Street elites kowtowing to Xi Jinping in order to destroy President Trump's merit on the US economy. Xi will take extreme and dangerous approaches to make sure that Joe Biden wins this election. However, make no mistake about it, if Biden does not win, it is the CCP that has ratted him out.
Okay, this is a propaganda video.
Okay, I just want to share.
Yeah, no, who is CTV? Like, you hear the music behind. It's like a production. It has no substantiated evidence. It doesn't quote like specific facts or documents or researchable items. It's all dictatorship style propaganda.
Okay, I got you.
In my opinion, because I've been watching this from a lot of different perspectives.
And that's why I'm asking for a perspective. That's why I love this.
You know, and I love to talk to you also. I mean, like, when you say this is entertainment for you, would you say the same if you were watching Hitler rise to power right now, back in the 30s?
Right now,
40s?
I am existing in this realm as a 3D fractal. I choose and leave this, and I astral plane probably 12 hours a day. So I'm choosing to interact, and this is quite entertaining to be here at times. I find nothing but joy in this realm. So when you give that specific example, it would be a real thing, and I would have to live in that moment to truly know. It would depend on where I am, how I'm observing it. And right now, none of that affects me eating, breathing, speaking, or doing anything. Trump, GP, none of it. So it is entertainment. That's why, like, I'm choosing to turn this on and say, hey, what's going on today? Okay, we're at 49.82%. Oh, it's going to be a recount. So yeah, I choose this.
Right, I got you. Yeah, and that's just pulling the lens back and just saying, we're all just dust in the wind, and let's just like look at this for what it is.
I live it, and that's why I ask you, what keeps you there once you find this? I don't go out of that thing. So that's why it was beautiful being in there with you, and I saw the politics pulls you right out. And you even said, that's the one thing I may hold on too much with my ego. When you see this video and see the transition of your vibration from where we were to the energy that came, it is beautiful to see. And I got to see these two dynamics, but wow. So yes, you do have it, because I felt it, and it is still resonating. It's just this child knows a bit more, and this is how I feel about it. So but I see it.
What was that last part?
I said it's the child in you that sees the world. I know a little more, and this is how I feel about it. But that came later in the conversation.
Right. And I guess it's just because I feel like it's so insulting to the truth of life to see close to 100 billion land animals a year be slaughtered mercilessly and treated the way they are. It's such an insult to my spirit and my soul to see a man like Trump running rampant over what this great experiment could be if we came together, instead of if he systematically didn't rip us apart, instead of him systematically trying as hard as he can to rip us apart. It insults my soul to see people going blinder and blinder because of the effect and the power that he has, because of the money that he has. So it upsets me, and my human emotion and ego steps in like a mother bear. And I'm like, my cubs are in danger, like, stop it.
Yeah.
If it was metastatic cancer, I'd cut it out, and I'd do whatever I could do to get healthy in that part of my body. So it's kind of like this dichotomy between me seeing it for what it is, but then I jump in and I'm like, no, you're not going to keep doing this to my children, to the world. Like, stop eating animals. Stop being blind to what you could see if you opened your heart. Like, that's where my ego comes in, and that's where I'm working. But deep down inside, even with all of that, I can smile and I can say, yeah, it is just all about love and fear, and let's just open wider. I understand what makes Donald Trump behave the way he does in my own way. And I feel sad for him, but I feel sadder for the people that he pulls into that vacuum with him. Right? I feel sad.
You described something that, for me, I'm going to hold and actually probably use it as a reference indefinitely, because I got the visuals, how love goes out and fear is a black hole. And so
I have a graphic.
if you shake things up, I have it here. If you shake things up with fear, what settles, that's kind of what Hitler did with the distortion of frequency at 𝗏440. I described that the same way you said that. I said, what it does is it disrupts you. So when you settle, it allows other things to come into your realm of awareness that would not have been given consideration because you're not complete. Your vibration is disrupted. So
it gets in between tracks, and it mutates your energy. It connects itself to your energy, and suddenly you have this subconscious program running that isn't from you. It's from something that you absorbed in a moment where you were broken down in a state of fear. So, I mean, that sounds like exactly what you were saying, and I think that's a beautiful assessment of it.
This is Joy Grayson. My name is 𝗀𝗂𝗍𝗂𝗂𝗁. This was the Candid 𝗀𝗂𝗍𝗂𝗂 podcast, because we can go on, and I don't think this is our last conversation. So feel free to subscribe, click that like button. It's streaming on everything, and it's shadow banned on many things. So don't hesitate to share it if you like it. Thank you, Joy. Big hug to you. And
Hi, thank you everyone for listening. I mean, this is time to play volleyball with our hearts with each other. Just, it's time.